Welcome back to Women's Self-Defense Wednesdays, episode 2. If you missed last week's in episode 1, we went over the Predator's Behavioral Psychology Compendium. Essentially, it's a protocol that I wrote for my daughters. Being a girl dad, women's self-defense is my most passionate subject, but not just that. I want to make sure that they're going to be able to access it anytime. I know I'm not always going to be around and they're not going to remember everything that I always said. So in hopes that you may be able to use these things as well, I dedicate this series to my daughters and the women of my family. Let's begin. So we are at the second part. If you recall from the first episode, and you'd seen that, if not, go check it out. It's pretty cool. In that first part, at the very bottom of the compendium, we went over what episode 2 was going to be about. And this one, it is on creating multiple layers of protection. We're going to do it in 3 main categories. So I want you to think about these as categories with subcategories, basically. Category number 1. Knowledge. Not just what do you know how to do in defending yourself between stand-up and grappling, jiu-jitsu, and different areas of fighting, but the knowledge that you may be able to arm yourself with a little bit of preparation. Say you know you're going out and you're going to go to an art gallery. You can look up ahead of time on G-Maps or any map the cross streets, and if there's more than one entrance or exit on the building. A lot of places, even if they're occupied, including residentials, have online tours available on places like Zillow. Check it out. Do a little bit of research about where you're going ahead of time. These things could be very helpful. Cross streets, if there was ever a fire, you would know not just the address, but you're on the corner of this and this. You don't got to try to go looking for that information when you're being asked in an emergency. And that's just one of any given type of an emergency. Knowing where the exits are on buildings, and especially if there's only one, is very helpful to know ahead of time. Situational knowledge specifically, things like you need to get gas. Can you go do that during the daytime, after or before work if you allow yourself enough time before? That's awesome. A lot of people like to do it afterward, but while the sun is still up, I like to tell my girls to go to kind of more populated places that aren't as isolated. Typically, safety in numbers, is a thing. So when you're going through, you have the ability to be seen by a lot of people, and there's generally more cameras. Even if it's a couple cents more per gallon, if you go to more populated areas, you kind of blend in, and if the sun is still up, it is a lot safer. Gas stations is one of those places that it's largely not super safe, especially at night, depending on where you are. It's these types of things in building a knowledge base of where you're going and what you're going to be doing that can be very helpful. With that, letting your friends and your people, any of them, know where you're going to be, when you expect to be back, and even doing a simple follow-up text, hey, I got back, I'm good. If you do this, no matter your age, and even adults, when you do this, you have the ability to kind of have this trail and this safety net of this person doesn't get your text by this time, and especially if it's multiple people, they might start asking some questions, and that's really good. If something does happen, one of the first places the police are going to start looking is family and friends. And if people already knew the location and the time and you miss checking in, they may end up showing up or just blowing up your phone and calling you. So making sure that people know where you are, very, very helpful in their knowledge. Part 2, come on. Part 2, action. But again, not just talking about learning how to defend yourself. These things are awesome, and absolutely encourage you to go train as many different places as you can with as many instructors as you can. Build up a library of motion and learn as much as you possibly can. But when I'm talking action, I'm referring specifically to the OODA loop. If you're unfamiliar, fighter pilots have observe, orient, decide, act. It's just going to take you a couple of seconds, usually, to be able to go from there's an emergency and I'm acting on it. because people aren't instantaneous animals. You kind of have to observe it, and then you have to kind of orient yourself and get ready, and then decide when to act. As far as the action step here, I want you to think of it more like if you go inside this art gala from the beginning example, and you locate that knowledge from where fire extinguishers are, fire breaks out, you know that you have to act, you know where they are, but it makes it a lot easier for you to be able to act. Things like reading the instructions on that ahead of time. Trust me when I say these things help from personal experience. They really do. In all different types of situations, that action and knowing what to do or what possible options are can be very helpful. If you do have any questions on this, I'm always open for that kind of a thing. You can throw out a scenario, and we will be going over more than just these things and doing our own scenario training, especially amongst groups and especially amongst family. I highly encourage you to make up a couple of code words, code sentences. I have a few. No, I won't share them, but I have a few, and I have to tell you, I am so glad that we do. Because my family knows if I say this particular sentence out loud, they have an action step and they take it immediately. They know from the moment that I say this sentence, that means they are doing this right now. You can think about it like maybe something's going down, hit the deck. You could think about it like something's coming in any direction and we don't have time to identify where, take the exit. You can think about it like this is our safe word. I've identified a threat, but they're within earshot. Everybody, eyes up, eyes peeled, head on a swivel. Which we should largely have everywhere anyway with situational awareness, of course. But you're not always going to maintain situational awareness in 100% of your day when you're out and about. You'll get into the routine. And so some of those code words, eyes up, head on a swivel, is nice to know and have because only you, your group of friends or family know what it means. And especially for, well, your group. If you say this sentence and that means everybody hits the deck right now, well, that can be very, very powerful and helpful for your group. Taking the knowledge, moving into the action space. And yes, there's nothing preventing you from doing this with your friends and family group when you're an adult too. We think about action as just the next logical step, but we also have to remember, well, the military has a wonderful saying about this. I believe it's from the Army. I might have to fact check that. Everything you do, including nothing, can and will draw enemy fire. Now, we're not in a war zone, so it doesn't really apply like that. Though it could if there was a mass, pew-pewer who came in the door. The point is that even staying still in your inaction is action. You need to remember that that is a factor. And usually, as we teach it here, it's looking for a strategic exit. Strategic because I know I can't just turn my back on the guy and then just try to run. Usually, if he gives chase, I have a problem. But strategic from timing, strategic on, okay, I'm running, where am I going? And thinking about these things from all these different layers of protection, just ahead of the situation you're going into. Please, please, please make it a habit when you go out, think about your layers of protection. Think about the knowledge base that you have of the people that are going to be there, the time frames, and the location. Think about the action steps that you would know you would need to take. You know where cross streets are, but are you going to be heading to the closest police station or fire station? That type of a thing, and knowing where they are, and start building your layers of protection from this model. And finally, brings me to number 3 in tools. So my tools absolutely be any different type of strike that I know from martial arts, but say you're somebody who likes to carry other tools. And when I have these tools, I have the ability to, use them, right? So yes, but there's some additional considerations I want you to think about. Number 1, kind of fitting your tools to the situation you're going to. If you do like pew-pews, for example, you probably don't need to bring a whole lot of them, right? Well, I don't know. It's a situation you're going to. I like to have different tools for different situations, and then there's some generic tools that I like to carry. So I need to know, though, with these, no matter where I go, there's at least one expandable baton there, and I brought it. I need to know that because it could indeed be used against me, which is why it's important, whatever tool you carry, practice with it and stay up to date with that. Don't practice it a whole bunch, but it was 6 months ago, 3 months ago. Staying current, make sure that the edge, that the tool and the skill is sharp. Like a knife, it can dull with time. Try to stay training each week so you have the ability to keep your tools sharp, keep your mind sharp.